Hello everyone and welcome back to week 9 of the 20 and 20 challenge. Today we're going to be using Active Admin and we're going to be using it to create a note-taking application. So you're going to have like a WYSIWYG editor, so you can bold and italicize your notes. Each note will belong to a subject, so you'd have like a subject for math, science, or maybe your classes or something to that effect. You can search and filter it all using Active Admin. And a whole bunch of stuff like that. So we're going to have like a whole backend system where you can filter, delete, and do stuff like that. And hopefully by taking what you learn in this application, you can apply it to your own applications where you use Active Admin as like your backend and then you sort of style your front end. So this is really focused heavily on using and configuring Active Admin's backend. And then you can go out and find other tutorials that cover, the front end portion of this. So this will make your life as the admin of the website easier. And then whatever you create using this, you also have the entire front end component that you can then render out in your, general Ruby on Rails environment. So your views, controllers, and stuff like that. But yeah, that's going to do it for this short little intro. I really want to get into the code this week, so let's go ahead and let's get started. Okay, so today we're going to be going from this blank Rails application to this Active Admin application over here. So when you open up /admin/dashboard for this application, you'll see that there's some recent notes. So in this case, I've created 2 notes. There's some info here, which is just some text right now. And then there's your subjects. So I have computer science and mathematics. And I think both of these notes are CS notes. They're not math notes, so math doesn't have any yet. But we can go over and do that in a minute. You also have this nav bar up here, so this is the dashboard. Let's go over to admin users, and you can see here there's only one user account, which makes sense because I've only created it for myself. There's also some filters here, so if you did have multiple users and you wanted to find any, you can just do a search right here, hit filter, and it'll filter for you. There's some comments, and I'm not really using these, but it's a similar theme where you can add comments to your models and search your comments and stuff. Then we have our notes. So right here, I have 2 notes that are both computer science subjects. Here's the title for each of them, and then the body. Now the body is truncated so that it doesn't flood off the screen. And then we have like the created at and updated at, and these times aren't accurate because it is not 1:38 right now. But if we come back to computer science, you can see here, this is what our subjects page looks like. So on an individual subject, you have all of the notes you've created for it. So I have the halting problem one here, and then I have one more right here. And if I come to all subjects, you can see we have computer science and we have mathematics. Now in our notes, we're customizing this table, but in subjects, it's just the default table because I don't anticipate that any of these are going to run off the screen. Now, of course, for all of these, you can filter. So you can filter by your notes, or you can filter by your name. So maybe we want to look for, math. Run a filter, and you can see here it's just showing math. We can get rid of that again, or we can just like search for computer, and this will also filter it. And then we can hit clear filters and stuff like that. So yeah, that's basically what we're going to be building. Let's go ahead and let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is, I already had the server stopped. That's how I opened up VS Code. But the first thing we need to do is come over to activeadmin.info. So I'm just going to, close that out. And once you get on this page, I'll have a link to it in the video description. You go over to documentation, and then you have a getting started guide along with installation and setup. Now there is an option to use Webpacker for this. I'm not going to be using it. Without using Webpacker, it's going to put the assets inside of app assets and then in here. So if you have JavaScript, that'll still go into assets. If you use Webpacker, it'll put your JavaScript files into this JavaScript folder, and then it'll go, I think, into packs. But we're not going to be using that for this application. We're just going to be using the basic cookie cutter build. So we're going to start by adding in our active admin gem, and we're also going to add in devise. So I'm just going to run bundle add active admin. Now there is no space or underscore here, so you can just type it as one word. But when you run the generators, there is an underscore, as you can see right here. So that's a little weird. But we're now going to say bundle add devise to add devise to our application. That way we can use all of our devise goodness whenever we want to. And of course, if you're using active admin, generally you use it to like have a back end to your front end. So you might use this to like manage the content on the website, and then the front end users just see it. But we're not using this application like that because I really just wanted to show how active admin works. So it's a bit of a primer. And then hopefully what I show you here is enough to get you up and running. But now that we have active admin added, we can say Rails G active _ admin : install to actually install active admin. And then we can run our migration, and then we should be good to actually start creating some resources. So there is a two-step process when you create a resource in active admin. So I'll just run a Rails DB : migrate command. The first thing you need is to actually have a model. So like right here, they say you can register a model, but that's great. You actually need to create it first. So this generation command doesn't create the model. It only registers it. So if you want to start by creating your subject, you need to say Rails G model subject, and then give it like a name, and you can hit enter. And then if we try to run the generate command, we're still actually going to run into an issue here. So if I say Rails G active _ admin : resource, and I pass in subject, we're going to get an error here because we haven't migrated our database since we've created this model. So active admin doesn't really know what it's doing here. So if we run a Rails DB : migrate command again to migrate the database, and then we run our Rails G active admin resource command, now it should be good to register our subjects. And what this does, if we come over to, apparently I already had this, if we come over to here, I'll just say yes, it creates this admin folder, which has admin users right here. It has the dashboard, which is what we customize to create this recent notes thing. So you can see right here, the default example is just this blank slate and some comments, but we'll, modify this. And then it also creates this subject.rb. So you're basically connecting your models to this subject.rb, or to the model equivalent inside of the admin folder. And that's how you're hooking up all of your logic. So you don't deal with controllers or views here. You're kind of doing it all inside of this like models plural.rb inside of your admin folder. So now that we've created our subjects, let's go ahead and let's do a Rails G model for the notes. So we're going to have a note. Each note is going to have a title. It's also going to have a body of type text. And the title is just going to be string by default, so you don't need to put :string after that. And then it's also going to have a subject : references. Or you could even, I think, do a belongs _to here, and it would set this up. So let's try subject : belongs _to and see if this works. So my understanding is that : references just adds the migration, and belongs to, if we come into models and note, it sets up the relationship for us. So we have that in our note, but we do inside of our subject still need to say this has many : notes. So now that we've done that, we can do a Rails DB : migrate command again to migrate the database. And then we can do a Rails G active _ admin : resource for the subject as well. And that will generate our resource. And then we should be good to actually start up our application and see what's happening. Oops, did I say subject again? I meant to say this should be for note. So now that that's done, the next thing we should do is, if we haven't already, and I don't remember if we have, so let's just do a Rails DB : seed command to seed the database real quick. And if we come into our DB folder in our seeds.rb, you can see in here that all this is doing is it's doing an admin user.create. It's creating an admin user with an email of admin@example.com and a password of password. And it's only doing this if you're in the development environment. So now let's go ahead and let's run a Rails S command to start the server. And if we go to localhost port 3000 now, you'll see that nothing has changed because this is still just the front end. But if we come over to /admin, you can see that it tells us you need to sign up or sign in before continuing. So if we type in admin@example.com with a password of password, I'll just check remember me, and then we hit login, we're now greeted by the dashboard. So with those commands that we just ran, we managed to generate this entire application. So we have our dashboard, our admin users, which just has our one admin user in it. We have our comments again, which we're not using. We have our notes, but there are no notes yet. And we have our subjects. But what happens if we try to create a subject? If we try to create a subject, we'll give this a title of, let's say, chemistry, because that's what it's suggesting right now. If we hit create, you'll see that there is a active model forbidden attributes error. So what does that mean? Well, basically, you have your attributes and your parameters that you create inside of like your, you normally handle your parameters in your controller, but we don't have those controllers right now. So we need to actually permit these parameters in some other way. So if we come into, let's say, like our subjects.rb, so inside of our app admin subjects.rb file, we need to actually permit some of these parameters. So let's start by just saying permit underscore params, and this has a name, and it also has some note IDs, which are just an empty array. So if we do this, and we save this, and then we refresh and hit continue, it should successfully create this subject. So now we have a chemistry subject. You can see here are the details. So the name is chemistry, it was created at, updated at, and we can just say, not my strongest skill, more of a math man myself. And we can add the comment, and now you have this comment here, and you can see you can delete the comment or go over to the user or whatever. But that's great. Maybe we can do a little bit more here. What happens if we want to actually show, something in here, right? So if we come down here and we want to change this from this weird subjects page to our own custom show page, we can just say show. We can set the title to be like my title. And then we can create a do block. And let's just go ahead and save this and see what happens if we run this empty show. So you can see it gets rid of everything. Which obviously isn't ideal because now we need something on this page. So maybe we want to add in a title. So let's say H3, you have plus, let's do the number of notes. So this is the subject.notes.count. So we're going to pluralize that and we're going to say note. So if you have 0 notes, this will change to notes. If you have 1 note, this will stay singular. If you have 2 or more, it'll change to notes with an S again. Let me just full screen this. And then after this, we can just say for this subject. So let's go ahead and save that and see what happens when we try to refresh this page. So now you can see you have 0 notes for this subject. Pretty cool. But what else could we do? Well, we can come down here and we can say, subject.notes.each do note. And you'll see this is very similar notation to what you would normally do. And then we can do a div do block. So for each note, create a div, give an h1 with the note.title, and then maybe like an h4 with a link to the note. So we'll say, this has a note.id. And you can see I'm using a couple different ways here just to show you how you can style and use all of these things. So here we're using our embedded strings to say you created this note on note.created at .strf time. And for this, I used strftime.net, I think, strftime.net. So you can come in here and maybe you want to grab the month by the name, and then add a space, and then say the day, which is 1 to 31. So you can just use this to customize it. And what I ended up coming up with is this string, which is day, the month, the day of the month, the year, and then this time, so 11:07 p.m. So we'll just come in here and we'll save this. We'll put in the strf time So after this does need to be inside of a string, and then we just paste that in. And then after this, we can say comma, and then we need to pass in the note. Now we can't just do the note like we normally would, because we're in a different sort of route structure. So we do need to say admin underscore note underscore path, and then we can pass in the note, and that'll give us /admin/notes/1. If we just did note, it would try to go to the actual note path, which is what you would use in like the front end of your application. That's not what you're using here inside of this. So let me save this and then come back to the application. I'll refresh the page. You'll see there's no errors, but we also have no notes yet. So let's come over to our notes. Let's try to create one. We'll say subject, chemistry, organic chemistry. And we'll just say, I really hope I pass. And you can see here, there's no WYSIWYG editor yet. We do need to actually create that so that we can like bold fonts and stuff. But if I hit create, you'll see we have another forbidden attributes error. And that's because we haven't permitted these attributes in our notes.rb yet. So let's come over to our notes.rb. And let's start by permitting the title, the body, and the subject ID. So let's save that. Then we can refresh this page. We'll hit continue. And you can see here that there's undefined method permit because I didn't say permit params. I just said permit. And then let's try to refresh one more time after we've done things properly. And you can see here our note was created. So it has a title of orgochemistry. I really hope I pass, and the subject. So let's come over to the subjects. And you can see there's an error in our subjects page. So we have created that with 2 C's. We obviously don't want that. So this is right here. So let's just fix that. Can't believe I missed that, but I'm going to leave this in because this is part of the process. You don't always type everything perfectly. As much as the editing that most of us do tries to fool you, a lot of us actually do make quite a few mistakes. So you can see here you have one note for this subject. You created this note on Monday, May 18th, 2020 at 3:09 a.m. And again, these dates and times are going to be wrong, but for now this is fine. If you do want to fix that, you need to, you can look up how to set like your UTF time for your Rails application. And you can like create an initializer to set it to the correct time zone or something to that effect. But now that we have this, let's maybe, come over to our notes. Let's create a new note, and let's maybe customize this notes form a bit. So we can come into our notes.rb file here, and we can customize this form a bit. So we can say something like a form title is notes app, do f, end. And just like with our show before, so we had like that show with a title of blah, blah, blah. We can also do that for forms. You can actually customize all your views just by using these quick little blocks of code. But what we're going to do is we're going to say this has some f.inputs. I'm going to call this note. And then we're going to just do a normal do block. And then it will say for f.input, let's give it a subject. Let's say it also has a f.input for the title. And let's maybe leave the body off for now. And then we'll say f.actions. And we'll save this. And then we'll see what happens once we save this. So if I refresh, you can see the body's gone. But overall, it still looks vaguely similar to what we had before. We can then add in our body. So we can say f.input body. Save this. And we can refresh the page. And the reason we're doing this is so that we can actually use our WYSIWYG editor here. So if we come over to the Active Admin GitHub page, actually has a section for plugins. So here you can see all of the different integrations you have. So you have like, your validation, settings, simple form, paper trail, versioning, stuff like that. But if we come down, we can actually find this section on WYSIWYG editors. And we're going to be using this Active Admin Quill editor. So if you follow that, you'll come over to this GitHub block notes Active Admin Quill editor page. And then if you scroll down, you can see the editor that I was using. So we're going to go ahead and follow these instructions. So the first thing we need to do is we need to add our Quill editor gem. So we're going to say bundle add active admin underscore Quill underscore editor. which is going to add that to our gem file. So if I open up our gem file and scroll down, you can see at the bottom here we have the Quill editor. It's also going to run the bundle command for us. The next thing we need to do is at the end of our active admin JavaScripts file. So this is going to be inside of app, assets, JavaScripts, active admin. We just need to add in these two. And then we can come into our app, assets, style sheets, active admin, and we just need to add in this import. And it wants us to add both of these to the end. So I'm just going to add them after the other import statements. And now that we've done that, we should, in theory, be able to say Rails S to start the server. And then we should be able to come over to our Notes app and then our admin Notes new and refresh the page. And we should see absolutely nothing change. Why is that? Well, just like with, in Rails, or with action text, you have like your rich text editor. So you'd say something like f.input as : rich text area or something, or like f.rich text area for the body, or I think content is even what they use on the documentations. Instead of doing that, we're going to be using Quill editor, but we do still need to actually call that somewhere. So if we come into our notes.rb, so this is our app admin notes.rb where we have our resource. After this : body, we just want to say as : space : QUILL_EDITOR for Quill editor. We'll save that, and then we'll refresh our notes application. And now you can see we have this WYSIWYG editor. So we'll create another thing for chemistry. We'll say, I don't know, like balancing equations. And then, you just have like a lot of people find this hard for some reason. I don't, though, because I'm really smart. I would argue if you were actually smart, you probably wouldn't spend your time typing this in your class, but let's just say for argument's sake you do that. So now we'll create this, and you can see that our note was created. Our HTML is here, our markup is here, but it's looking a little weird. So maybe we need to change what the admin notes show page looks like. So let's come back into our notes.rb, and let's say something like for the show page, let's give it a title of your note. And we'll say do, end, and maybe we want to say h1, link to the note.title, and let's just go back to the note, or the admin notes path. We can also create a h4 to link to the note.subject.name, and we could say this is the admin subject path for the note.subject. And then you could say div with a class of note hyphen body, do, end. And then in here we can just say raw note.body. And this is what's going to cause this to actually show up on our page. So if I refresh now, you can see our HTML is here, our quote is here, but we need to actually create this CSS class to kind of make things look a little bit better. I'm not a front-end styling developer kind of person, but we'll give it a shot. So let's come into app, assets, style sheets, active admin, and down here let's just say the note hyphen body, and then we'll just give this like a padding of 1 EM, a margin of 1 EM, a background hyphen color of E6, E6, E6. And then let's go find a WebKit. So we're just going to say like backdrop shadow generator CSS or something to find something that looks similar to what we're looking for here. So you might find this tool at cssmatic.com/box-shadow. You play around with the generators until you find something you like. And then you just copy it and paste it in here into the note body. So in my case, I ended up going with this. So I have the 10 pixels across and some 5 pixel offsets. So if we just change this, so, our spread, I think I had set to like, let's just mess around with this a bit to make sure that I'm not, making stuff up. So let's give this a color of E6, E6, E6. Oops, that's the background. That needs to be white. This needs to be E6, 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 E6. So that gives us that. Let's give it a spread radius of, I guess, 5 is fine. A blur radius, maybe. You can update that. Let's maybe bump this down a bit. Let's give it like, I guess 10 here is fine. Maybe even like 5. And then maybe like 2 here. And then, you know, some opacity of like maybe 29 or something. So, you know, you just play around with it until you find what you like, and then you copy it, and then you just paste it in. So I'll just grab this because it looks good enough. And then whatever you end up going with, you know, you just tweak it a bit in here until eventually you come across the settings. So in my case, it was just 10 pixels, 10 pixels, 5, -5. And then the RGBA was 0, 0, 0. And then 0.29 opacity. So that gives you those settings. You do still need to set your background color and stuff, but once you have that, you can come over to your dashboard, which is this one, and then you should be able to refresh your admin notes page, and you should see your new CSS styling here. You could, of course, add in your titles inside of something as well. But that's really not the point of this video. So now we have our notes.rb set up. We have our, you know, our form and our show page. Maybe we want to, when we come to the notes page, style this a bit more because right now, if you have a really long post, this is just going to go off into oblivion. So maybe we want to create like an index page. So for this, we can just say index do, and I'm not going to give this a title or anything. I'm going to start by saying this is a selectable column, and then I'm going to save that, and we're going to see what happens. It's always important to, you know, try out and experiment just so that, you know, it makes you more comfortable. So maybe we want to say column for the subject. Sounds good. So let's just go ahead and save this, refresh. We now have a subject. Okay. What else can we do? Well, we could say there's a column for the title. And then we could say do note end. And then we can say link to the note.title admin _note _path, pass in the note. Sounds good. Refresh the page. Once that saves, we can refresh the page. So now we have the title of our notes. Let's now say for the body, we want to do the note. And we want to say raw note.body.truncate _words, and let's just truncate it at 25. Save that. And then we can refresh. So now that's truncated. I'm not sure how evident that is. Maybe I'll switch this down to like 5 or something, and then we can refresh. And you can just play around with this until you find something you like. Yeah, so there it's actually truncating it. So I'm going to leave it at 25. And then down here, let's just add another column for the created at and one for the updated at. So now let's save that, refresh the page, and you can see here if I full screen, we have this whole application set up like this. So that's good for our notes.rb. Let's come over to, maybe we want to, let me just look through my files, see what else I changed. I think we also have like our subjects.rb styled a little bit. So let's come over to subjects.rb. We actually have all of that done. So I think the last thing to cover really is just the dashboard then. So if we come back to our dashboard, you can see that we have nothing in here yet, but it says if you go to app admin dashboard.rb, you can customize it. So app admin dashboard.rb is this file. And let's just full screen this and take a look. So this right here is our title, which is just saying, you know, it's got like the welcome and then the call to action, etc. And this is the example they give you. So let's go ahead and let's just get rid of that and let's just create our own, I guess. So let's say you have like columns, do, end. You have column, do. So for each individual column, you then have panel. We're going to say recent notes, do, end. And then for each of these, we're going to have a UL. And then we'll say note.order created at DESC.first. So we're going to grab the first 5 of these. And then we're going to say .map do note. end. And then we can just say each of these is an li with a link to the note.title, and it's the admin note path, and we'll pass in the note. So let's save that and see what happens when we run this, right? So if we refresh the page, we now have recent notes spanning across this entire thing. Maybe we want to do a little bit better. Maybe we want to like have half and half. And for that, what we can do is we can come down to where this column ends. We can create another column. So say column do end, and let's just give this a panel of info. And then we'll just give this a paragraph where we say, welcome to your notes application. It is powered by Ruby on Rails and active admin. And we can save this and see what happens. So I'll refresh the page. There's our info card. Cool. Let's now come down here, and after this first set of columns, let's create another set of columns, and we can say columns do end, column do end, panel your loyal subjects do end, and then let's do another UL, and then we can say let's grab all the subjects and order them by their name in ascending order, and then map this to subject end, and then we'll say li link to the subject.name admin underscore subject underscore path subject. And that should be it for the dashboard. So now if we save this, we'll have two sets of columns. First set will be half and half. Second set will stretch all the way across. So let's come over to our subjects, create one more subject. We'll say this is for computer science. And then we'll just create this. Let's come over to our actual subjects page. Let's view our chemistry. You can see there's 2 in here. Let's go back. Let's view our computer science. So there's none in here. So let's come over to our notes. Let's create one more note. This will be for computer science. We'll say the halting problem. And you can put in whatever here. I just have this brilliant.org/wiki/halting problem page open. And then I'm just going to copy, I guess, this proof right here. So let me just full screen this. And where is it? So proof by contradiction. I'll even grab the whole thing. So we'll just copy this. And it's not going to copy over one-to-one because that's really not the point of this application. But if we paste this in here, you can see that some of the stuff is preserved, like the spacing. And then we'll just create the note. And now we have, our proof by contradiction for the halting problem here. So let's come back to our notes. And now if we come over to subjects, we should have our computer science subject. So let's go over to that. You could, of course, make your computer science subject a link or whatever. And then you have the halting problem right here. So I think that's the gist of what I was hoping to accomplish today. It's a very powerful framework if you use it, and you don't need to do a whole bunch of custom code rollout for it. As long as you're not trying to change, core functionality of how the admin panel works, you'll be set. This is great to use. If you have a whole bunch of custom solutions you need, then maybe this isn't the way to go and you should just build your own backend panel. But I hope that this helped. It's a little bit different from Devise, although it does use Devise. But whenever I talk about creating a backend, this is always in the back of my mind for what I'm sort of going for. And hopefully now you can see why. It's very powerful. But again, you'll always want to decide which tool is better for the job. Is it better to do your own solution? Or can you save a whole bunch of time and just use something like Active Admin? But yeah, let's go ahead and let's move over to the outro. Okay, so that's going to do it for week 9's video. I know this was a little bit late. I've been pretty busy. I'm not sure how the regularity will continue from this point on. But hopefully, at the very least, we always get a 20 and 20 episode done each week. But thank you for watching. If this video helped, please remember to like it. If this video didn't help, remember to dislike it, because it helps other people when you rank this video lower or you give it a lower score, because then they know this video is not worth their time. It always helps me out when I see a video that has like 80% as like an upvote ratio, because then I'm like, ugh, I probably don't want to watch this one. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. If you want to see more of this, I think we still have 11 weeks left, so there's plenty of 20 and 20 challenges going on. Each week will be a different Rails application. There's also some other Rails videos that come out, software, engineering, businessy stuff, whatever you want to talk about. So yeah, consider subscribing, all that other YouTube jazz, but that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.